Well, welcome to BEI Live. It's another Tuesday evening, and I'm so excited to be here with you. How you doing today, Angela?
I am excellent, Cedric.
Well, that is awesome. Well, tonight, I mean, just like every Tuesday, we say we have a great show lined up. Tonight, we really do have another great show lined up for everyone. Angela, this week we brought Marcus Davis from Houston, Texas, into the boot camp. And
Yes.
my God, folks, if you could have been at that boot camp, I'm telling you, folks, this guy is dynamic. He is just powerful. He is awesome. And he was in the boot camp. And let me tell you what, there were so many nuggets that he gave us, gave the boot campers Thursday evening. And look, he was supposed to leave at a certain time, and he was having such a good time with the nuggets he was given and the interaction in the group that he said, "Oh, don't worry about it. Let's just keep going." Right now, you're having a good time then. Angela, tell me what you think of that.
Cedric, I'm just going to say this. I know the value we bring in the business boot camp. He alone was worth the price of admission, as they say. Literally, he was to be able to hear from someone who's seasoned and who has, as we say, strived and thrived at entrepreneurship and done so for almost 2 decades. To be able to have that type of expertise in the room with people who are really thirsty and hungry for information about how to grow their business, it was priceless. It really was. And even for me, and I felt like the rest of us felt the same as the founders, we all learned so much from having Marcus in our boot camp Thursday night. It was awesome.
Yes, I'll tell you what, it was definitely awesome. So we actually have a surprise for you tonight as well. We actually did an interview outside of the boot camp with Marcus so we could bring him right here to the EL community as well. I mean, the guy is dynamic. Let me just read a little bit about him, and we're going to go straight to his interview. So, entrepreneurship is a journey that over 582 million people in the world are on.
Yes.
But some of them are on this quest to have the best next product or service. Some are trying to change the world with their voice. Some are trying to change it just with their skill. Yet there are still others who are just trying to add value in any kind of way they can, right? And that's probably some of you out there in the audience. See, regardless of which avenue you decide to take, the pursuit of happiness is really the common thread. And that's what you're going to see tonight. See, we hear all the stats about how many entrepreneurs fail, but what about those who survive? You see, what about those who also thrive? If 50% of businesses fail within the first 4 years, that also means that another 50% are thriving in those first 4 years. That means that 50% are still going, and a percentage of those are thriving even more than others. See, that's where we want to focus our time and energy. See, surviving and thriving. See, when you focus on losing, you lose. So let's not spend a whole lot of our time there, right, Angela?
Oh, I love that. You are so true. As the saying goes, right? Where your focus goes, your energy flows, right? So you are right on, Cedric. Let's focus our efforts and energies on the businesses that are doing well. And these are the kind of people that we're bringing to you live on our show every Tuesday night at 7:30.
Absolutely. And this week, wow, we're going to bring you a thriving entrepreneur. Mr. Marcus Davis is the owner and creator of the Breakfast Klub brand. Now, let me say this, the spirit and the entrepreneur mastermind behind the Breakfast Klub, the Reggae Hut, Culture Downtown, Alley Cat Bar and Grill is Mr. Marcus Davis. He's known for his charismatic personality, his authentic customer appreciation, and his tireless commitment to the community in the Houston area is just phenomenal. Now, he's been in business since 2001. And tonight you're going to hear how he started this brand called the Breakfast Klub. And we want to share this interview with you tonight. So, Angela, we're just going to go ahead and just.
So, Cedric, we must remind you them, stop what you're doing. I know you're watching us. Hit share. Because I promise you, you know somebody who needs to hear what Marcus is going to share with us this evening. Hit share, start a watch party. Make sure when you grow, you bring others with you. So Cedric, hey, take it away.
Awesome. Awesome. So we are sitting here with Mr. Marcus Davis, a hugely successful entrepreneur in the great country of Texas in the city of Houston. And, hey, Marcus, I thank you very much for joining us today. And you're going to be speaking to a huge audience. This is the Empowered Living audience. We have about 1.9 million subscribers out there, and they're going to be listening to you and listening to your journey. So we're excited to have you here. And folks, if you've never been to Houston, Texas, or if you're in Houston and you've never been to the Breakfast Klub, you definitely need to go. He's going to talk about the other restaurants as well.
I got to correct that. If you've been to Houston and you haven't been to the Breakfast Klub, then you haven't been to Houston.
Okay.
You were somewhere else. I don't know where you were, but you weren't in.
You're absolutely right about that. It's a great place. You won't be disappointed. I can tell you that. So, Marcus, what led you to becoming an entrepreneur and starting your own business?
You know, I have a definition that I've coined for entrepreneurship, and it is filling a void in the marketplace that the marketplace is calling for consciously or subconsciously. Filling a void in the marketplace that the marketplace is calling for consciously or subconsciously. I say consciously or subconsciously because sometimes the marketplace knows what it wants and the entrepreneur agrees and delivers. And sometimes the marketplace does not know what it wants and the entrepreneur is responsible for thinking about it and delivering it as well. So what led me to open the Breakfast Klub? Just that. I wanted to fill that void in the marketplace almost 20 years ago. Yeah.
Wow. And so then how did you understand what that void was or gap was?
You know, a couple of ways. One was my own personal experience, right? Being a Houstonian, being a 30-year-old African-American male, college grad, professional, and just looking for, what was out, right? I mean, we had places in Houston that were, long-standing, and they belonged to the guard before us, the older guard, right? Mm-hmm. And we hadn't yet created our space. Additionally, just hanging out, with people in the marketplace and listening to what they were talking about, listening to what they were describing, watching what they were yearning for, watching what they were participating in. And I remember one night hanging out with a group of fellas, and this is part of the birth of the Breakfast Klub. It's kind of the embryo stage, right? We were driving through Houston, and everybody in the car, and I'm just putting it in context, everybody's in the car is professional, doing well, six figures. We got a lawyer, we got an engineer, we got a CPA, we got pharmacists, everybody, folks doing it, right?
Right.
And so we went to hang out, have a good time. And every place we went, we talked about what we could do. We were like, we could do something like this, and with this kind of flavor, this kind of flair. And so that seemed to be the theme of the night, everywhere we went. And I don't know, it wasn't deliberate. It just came up in conversation. And so at the end of the night, we were all hungry, and we started describing what we wanted to eat, where we wanted to eat, what type of vibe we wanted, and came to the conclusion that place didn't exist, right? We wanted a nice, plush, warm, comfortable place to go and have some breakfast food that was similar to the places we had gone to, right? So we hanging out in a wine bar. We don't want to go from the cozy, quaint wine bar to this big, bright IHOP, right? It's sterile, cold, it just didn't match, right? We wanted it to be a seamless transition. So, we got to describing that place didn't exist. And so voila, here we are. I put pen to paper and started working on it, and went back to those guys. Now I did go back to those guys, and this is the thing about entrepreneurship that people have to understand. Went back to them and presented it to everybody, and everybody took. No, not really. Nobody took. Nobody bid. True story. Hey, nobody bid. And I learned a valuable lesson, at that point, and along my journey of trying to open the restaurant, which is, one, it ain't for everybody, and some people are not in the same place, in the same space. Some people are not of that mindset. The entrepreneur is a special kind of person, right? And so, I wanted to fill that void, and so we did. Here we are.
That's awesome. I love that, how you were able to get that understanding, because we hear so often of entrepreneurs who, the moment they tell their idea to someone, if there's not buy-in, they think it must be a bad idea.
Oh, you know what? And I just read something recently about the lady, about, the value of keeping your idea close to your chest. And I've heard a lot of people say that. And it may work for someone. I like to think a little bit differently. I mean, at some point, certain things you need to hold in for the sake of, making sure that someone doesn't jump on your idea while you're still working on it. But I'm not a believer in holding on to it because somebody may disagree with it, right? Or somebody may shoot it down. I believe that you need to be able to withstand that, right? Mm-hmm. Because the idea is going to get shot at regardless, even when you open up. Even if you never tell anybody and you wait until you open up, people are still going to shoot at the idea. So you need to be battle tested, right? Right. Good thing to be battle tested. And I was definitely battle tested for the 2 years that I was trying to open a restaurant. I went from an idea. So going back to that story, I drew that idea up. After that, I end up seeing, happening up on a location while I was working on another entrepreneurial idea, right? I was dabbling in real estate, and I happened to come across the location for the Breakfast Klub, and had already put the rough draft together of this concept, and the two matched. And so I quit my job and decided to pursue this opportunity full time, and it was a long haul. And along that road, I had a lot of, as you said, Angela, had a lot of folks who were shooting this idea down, and I just, I'll put it like this. It was so bad, and it took so long that my name had become Marcus Gonna Open a Restaurant Davis. I'm not joking. They didn't know that I knew that's what they were calling me, but it had gotten so bad that I never forget this. I remember being at a place and saw a group of the fellas. Then I walked up, said, "What's up, Dap?" Da 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 da. And as I walked away, I literally heard the laughter as I left. Wow. Right. And I knew what the laughter was, right? But it's all good.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, contrary to that, then, did you have mentors that were also in your life that were speaking the more positive message? And how did that play a role if you did?
Oh, have I had mentors? Yes. Some who came willingly, and some who I forced myself upon. But my mentors didn't come until after I had opened my business. Right. I didn't have, quote unquote mentors during the process of trying to open the business. You know, I had people that I would try and go talk to.
Mm-hmm.
I had people that would give me some advice, but I don't know if I had mentors during that time. The majority of my mentoring had come prior to that, when I was working in the restaurant industry and climbing the corporate ladder, and I had people that were mentors for me in that space,
Mm-hmm.
and that carried over. Now, I will say, because I got to give credit what credit is due. Of course, I had sources of inspiration, people that I didn't know that I aspired to be in their space or to be like, or what have you. But there was this one guy who was very, very impactful. I didn't know him from Adam. He had a restaurant. I picked up the telephone and I called him. His name is Kevin Calvin, and he had a place called Bel Air Cafe in the late 90s. I didn't know this dude from Adam. I picked up the phone, called him, asked him, could I come meet with him? And this guy, not only did he take my call, he took my call. He told me he'd meet with me. He took me out to lunch, reviewed what I had, then came back and gave me his business plan as a model to make some corrections to mine. Yeah.
Wow.
That was dope. And he bought me lunch. He did. At Houston's. He didn't buy me no Jack in the Box.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, wow. Yeah. And when I call, he'd answer the phone and take a call.
Well,
that's awesome.
That is definitely awesome. And you know, it's interesting. You said, hey, he brought you lunch, but then more importantly, he said, let me share with you my plan and how you can make adjustments to your plan using my plan. A lot of people are afraid to share their idea, right? Or share their plan because oh no, he's going to take over my space, right?
Man, I was shocked as hell. He was like, yeah, here you go, take that. He's like, I'm open already. I'm already doing business.
Exactly.
And, you know, he told me, you know, he said don't copy it, just use it as a template. You know, where you don't have answers to your questions, look at how I answer mine and go find your own answers to your questions.
Absolutely love that. That is awesome. So what advice would you give those individuals who are considering entrepreneurship, whether it's in a restaurant or it's some other entrepreneur venture? What advice would you give them as they try to get started, and they may run up against friends who like the idea but don't want to support the idea, or run up into, well, I don't have any mentors that I can go to, so I'm afraid?
So the first advice I'd give them is, one, just make up in your mind that you're going to do it, right? Regardless of what other people say, feel, think, what other people do or don't do. At the beginning and the end of the day, I know people don't like when you say at the end of the day, so I'm gonna say at the beginning and the end of the day, it's really about what you have a made up mind to do. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I share with folks is this idea of, so I'm a believer that the vision that's been given to you was given to you and you alone. It is divine. It is spiritual. It is something that was given directly to you. And what I mean by that is it wasn't given to everybody, right?
Right.
It was given to you. So it is impossible for someone to see it the way you see it, right? And so because they don't see it the way you see it, then it is illogical to expect them to feel the same way about it as you feel about it, because the picture wasn't painted for you. You know, the vision that the Creator gave to you is perfectly painted, particularly for you, specifically. You have your own painting that's been placed inside of it. And you know, people ask me when they come to the Breakfast Club and they see the line out the door around the corner up the street, which we did before Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, by the way. Just want to get that on record.
I can tell
you, holler at your boy when you do that, right? We still, but okay, I'm sorry. No, and I like to say that because we live in an IG era, right? And especially when I'm talking to young entrepreneurs, I try to explain to them what the pre-IG era looked like, right?
Mhm.
Today, if you have a good product, there's no reason you shouldn't be busting out the seams, right? Because we had to work hard to get national exposure in 2002, 2003 was when we got national exposure. We had to be very strategic and get a little lucky, right? We had to be good, we had to be strategic, and we had to get a little lucky. Today, man, if you got a great photographer and you can put the right pictures on IG and get the right people to click on it, you have no excuse for not being successful. If you're delivering a great product, the only excuse you have for not being great is you ain't doing what you're supposed to do. But anyway, I got off. What was I supposed to be talking about?
Advice to new entrepreneurs.
Oh yeah.
I will say this before you go there. People who are listening either live or the recorded, this section right here, rewind and listen it again, because he said your gifts is your divine and your spiritual gift alone. So don't worry about the naysayers. And that could be your wife, that could be your mother, that could be your father. You got to close your mind tightly, is what he's saying, against the naysayers. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, and you're absolutely right. And look, and we call them naysayers, we call them haters, and I don't use, they're just not privy to the information, right? You operate differently when you have all of the information, right? So, when people see the line out the door, up the street, around the block, they ask me, did I ever think? And I'll stop them. Yes, I did think this. I thought it wholeheartedly. I believed it wholeheartedly. I saw the picture. I saw you sitting in that seat before you even got here. And that's how clear you have to see that picture. And that's how much you have to fully believe in that picture. And I'm a big believer. So people who are watching now, right? Mm-hmm. This is a little exercise that I do. People who are watching now, close your eyes, right? And see your vision, right? Now, open your eyes, and I want you to tell me what the person next to you saw. I'll wait.
Oh, wow.
Because you can't. It's not yours. It doesn't belong to you. You can only see what was given directly to you. So you can't get happy about him opening, a drive-in car wash. You can't get happy about him opening, a whale knuckle potato chips, because it wasn't your idea, and you never saw it. Right. Yes. And so, you just have to be mindful of the fact that it's a gift that was given directly to you, specifically to you. And here's the kicker, because it was given directly to you and specifically to you, you are responsible for it. And you're the only one that's responsible for it. It ain't them. It ain't your sister didn't help you. They're not responsible for that. It ain't because your wife didn't help you. She wasn't responsible for that. I mean, I agree the spouses have a role and responsibility. It ain't because your brother didn't do it. It ain't because your homeboys never came. It ain't even because your mama didn't back you. That's not their responsibility. What was revealed to you is your responsibility and your responsibility only. And when it's all said and done, when the question is asked, what did you do with the talent that I gave you? You can't put it on your mama. Ain't nobody gonna hear that.
You preaching tonight. I love that. That's
imagine it like this, right? Imagine it like this. I see the way I see entrepreneurship and the way I see gifts, visions that are given to folks. I see it as the rest of the creation, right? And everybody has their role, their responsibility, and their assignment that they were given. So birds have to go and pollinate, right? In order that food is produced, right? Sun has to give off vitamin D in order that we get it, right? Trees have to give off the air so we can breathe. Everybody has their role and responsibility. If the trees don't give off the air so we can breathe oxygen, they can't blame it on the sun. They can't blame it on the bees. They were the only one that was responsible for that, right? So everybody has their role and their responsibility in the creation. Now, one does contribute and help the other, but you still have an expectation to produce, regardless. All right, I'm sorry. All right, here we go. Where we go?
Look, this is good stuff right here. I feel like you're stepping on my toes a little bit, but I'm going. This is good. Well, but so full disclosure, I think I've only been through Houston, so I've never been to Houston in both ways. I've never been to the restaurant, nor have I ever really been to Houston. But now I want to come. So just so you know, so I'm coming.
All right. What you doing tomorrow?
I'm still in New Jersey tomorrow.
You doing what?
I'll still be in New Jersey tomorrow.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll give you a day or two to get in.
Okay. So I understand, though, beyond the Breakfast Club, you have 3 additional ventures in restaurants now, and they're all uniquely different and defined as in what that niche is. Can you talk a little bit about the thinking into when you made a conscious decision to open additional restaurants of creating something totally new versus, multiple locations of the same thing?
Yeah. So actually, we have 6 locations, but 4 concepts, right? Because we have two airport concepts. Well, pre-COVID, all of this is pre-COVID, y'all. Right? So the idea behind that goes back to how we started this conversation. Goes back to the definition of entrepreneurship, which is filling the void in the marketplace. So these are the concepts that we created. Was us doing our part to fill a void in the marketplace. So our latest concept that we opened, which is Culture Downtown, an urban comfort kitchen, was us listening to the marketplace, saying that we wanted a Southern cuisine, upscale. We want a place where we can go and take our boo, right? Take our honey and get dressed up, look nice, have a good time. And the name of it was Culture. And we wanted a place that spoke to us and spoke about us, right? So that's what I heard, and that's what we created. The Alley Cat Bar and Lounge it came about for a couple of different reasons, right? Of course, we wanted our own bar that we could hang out in and have a great time, and have the concept was 3 different spaces. It's one bar, but it has 3 different spaces, and you can get 3 different vibes. So in the front room, you could get some R&B. In the back room, you can get some hip hop, and upstairs you can get some house or some live music. So filling that void. In Houston, we had when I was coming up, kicking into Houston, we had a great live music scene that I never forget. I walked into a space and saw Robert Glasper and Mos Def kicking it on stage, and I was like, man. And so we wanted that back in Houston. So I wanted to bring that back. But the other part of the void that it filled was, if you think about it, and I don't know how familiar you all are with this, but we had a little issue in Houston in the early 2000s where Black folks were discriminated against. There was this whole dress code thing, right, where we weren't let into certain bars in certain areas because we didn't have the right dress code. Happened to my brother, who was a sit-in city council member, walked in, tried to go into a bar where he was wearing a blazer, a French cuff shirt, and jeans, and dress shoes, and they said he didn't have the dress code, right? It happened to me and a colleague of mine, where we tried to go into a bar, and I told them they had a dress code. I was like, they weren't gonna let us in, and I had on some khaki shorts and some boots or something. I don't remember, but we watched somebody walk in. I was like, oh, I guess dress code ain't today. And then sure enough, when we got to the front counter, they wouldn't let us in. Mm-hmm. And so what void did we feel? I wanted to open a place where I didn't get kicked out. That simple. And I was guaranteed not to get kicked out of this one unless my wife kicked me out. That was the only way. And we had this little stint where, we had this big ruffle where there was a big scene where a promoter had booked a venue, and in the middle of the event, middle of the night, it was a holiday thing too, right? It was a holiday time. He cut it off, right? Just cut him off. And I mean, Black folks paraded on social media talking about shame on them for, kicking us out of there. And I'm reading through, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm this, I'm that, my money there. And so by the time I finished counting, I was like, I just counted $1 million right here. Why are we talking to somebody else about their business when all we got to do is take that meal that we got and go in, bam, entrepreneurship, fill that void, open a place that wants you, that accepts you, and one where your dollar circulates in your community.
Love it.
All right. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, so the idea behind different concepts was to fill voids in the marketplace, right? Now, the Reggae Hut is an exception, but it was still filling the void in the marketplace. Reggae Hut is a Caribbean restaurant that existed while I was a senior in college at Texas Southern, right? So it opened before the Breakfast Club. We acquired it because it was a staple in the third ward community, and the community wanted it to be there. And it was having its own struggles, and I was able to identify what the challenges were, and I was like, we can fix this. We can make it, we can put some systems in place and make it better. And, I understand what it means for our community when a business closes in our community. We may not talk about it. We may not confess it. Matter of fact, sometimes we'll even do the opposite. We'll say, derogatory things like, see there, they should have, or that's what happened when, right? But what we're really saying is we're really mourning the fact that a business closed in our community. And it hurts, it's painful. And so because of what the Reggae Hut meant to our community, I decided I wanted to practice the fourth principle of Kwanzaa, which is cooperative economics. So I took the money from TBK and invested it into the Reggae Hut in order to keep that business going. And here we are 10, 12 years later, and we still serving beef patties, jerk chicken, oxtails, and all that good stuff. So when you come, you got to go to the Breakfast Club for breakfast and then to the Reggae Hut for lunch or dinner.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that is awesome.
Yeah. Now, just for clarity, because I mentioned all that was pre-COVID. As a result of COVID, now, right now, currently, only two of our units are operating. We only have the Breakfast Club and the Reggae Hut open currently. We have not reopened the Alley Cat. We have not reopened Culture. We will, but we have to wait to see what the science is going to tell us, and we have to wait to see how. Because I believe in people over profits. And if I can help do my part to keep us safe and separate, then I'm going to try to do that. And I just hadn't figured a way to open those other two stores and manage the pandemic at the same time. Not just yet.
Sure. I love that you said, hey, people over profits. That's awesome. Once when I heard you speak, Marcus, you talked about the challenges you faced at the very beginning when you're getting started. There were different major events that happened. Kind of walk the audience through that, because what I want to give people is the feel for, it wasn't just like, boom, I had this idea and then I just ran with it. You had some setbacks and how you overcame those setbacks.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the first setback was the one that I described from the get-go. The first setback was me under the assumption that everybody that talk about it is going to be about it, and that's just not true. And so you have to be able to weather that storm. You have to be, I went to, in addition to that, I went to, 5-7 different banks and 5 to 7 different investment groups, and was turned down there. So until I came across my mom and Mr. O, so you had to weather those setbacks. Then, I was talking to my wife when this pandemic started. I just started tracing the number of things that we've been through. And, yes, we're going through the pandemic and this is something different, but we're not unaccustomed to dealing with adversity, right? So Tropical Storm Allison hit like the summer that we were building out the building, right? And flooded it out and had changed out some sheetrock and all this other kind of good stuff. Nothing major, but it was a setback. It was major back then because it cost, a few dollars, and it just kind of put things on hold. Mm-hmm. Then after that, when we opened in the last week in September, and there was a little thing that had happened 2 weeks prior, on the 11th of September. Right. So we opened 2 weeks after 9/11, and yeah, that was a big deal, right? Because the country was kind of like, what's going on, right? It was kind of in limbo. We opened right after, shortly after we opened, there was another major financial crackdown in the city of Houston. So it was just, a number of different things that were happening either right before we opened or right after we opened. they busted up the street, which we knew, right? That was, we opened under construction, right? They were tearing up streets all around us. But, our goal was, we were playing a long game, right? We weren't playing a short game. So yeah, no, it wasn't no, it wasn't, unlike the door, which again is possible, and it's even more possible today. But there were a number of setbacks in the beginning, but it's part of the process. And along the way, probably the biggest one. I tell people I got my MBA in 2008. Right, that was in the housing market crash. Right, that was when the whole country, the economic system of the whole country crashed, and it did a doozy on the business. And going back to mentors, and you got to think about it. That came on the heels of the rise in gas prices. I think it was on the last few years of Bush. Gas prices started to skyrocket, right? And then as a result of gas prices, food started to skyrocket. And so you got this gas going up, then the price of food going up at the same time. In 2007, food had gone up the most it had gone up since the 1980s. So you got gas going up, you got food going up, then all of a sudden the housing market crashed, and it was just, it was crazy. It was crazy out here. Crazier than this, and I never forget, I never forget being in one of those moments where, I was just feeling the pain and trying to see through the tears. And, I picked up the telephone and I called, what's the lady name on Living Color to say, don't nobody better say nothing bad about Miss Jenkins. Nobody better say nothing bad about King Crusoe over at French's Chicken. Because I picked up the phone and I called King Crusoe, and I told him, I said, man, I need to understand what the hell is going on and how the hell to get out of this. He said, first of all, stop all that damn crying, wipe your nose. I can hear it through the phone. And he said, I'll meet you at the restaurant tomorrow. He met me at the restaurant the next day, sat me down and said, I told you to stop all that damn crying. And then he gave me a list of things that I needed to do. The rest is history. And I walked away with some gems and some commitments to do certain things that would prevent me from being in that hole again. And the dilemma was food cost was rising so quickly that I couldn't make the accommodation. Gas was rising so quickly that it was taken away from the number of customers that were eating. So it was impossible for me to come up with a formula to solve the problem. And he gave me the answer. He was like, you need to step up to the plate and do what you got to do. I was like, but I can't do that, because if I do that, he said, you want to eat, don't you? You keep busy, don't you? I said, yes, sir. Damn it, do it. That's all she wrote.
Wow.
Yeah.
So last question, because we want to honor and respect your time. What would you say is the one thing that you know today that you wish you had known when you first became an entrepreneur?
I would have to say that one thing is, and it's kind of funny. I wish I had known that, as much as I believe it was possible, I wish I had known how much it was possible, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Meaning there are levels to what we believe, right? It takes the same amount of faith to open a $5 business as it does to open a $500 million business, right? Right. But I didn't know that, right? Mm-hmm. There were things that I was not able to do, that I thought I wasn't able to do when we first opened. Mm-hmm. That 10 years later, I was like, man, I didn't know I could have done that. you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. I just wish I had known exactly what was possible. Meaning, we've done well for ourselves, but there was some opportunities that were missed where we could have. I'll give you a perfect example. When we first opened, there are 2 lots right across the street from the Breakfast Klub. It's full city blocks. I thought that was out of my reach, right? Because it was Oh, it started out as a $1.5 million deal. I think at the end of it, ended up being like a $3 million deal. I thought that was out of my reach. I didn't know that it was well within my reach. I didn't know how to structure that deal. I didn't know how to get that type of deal done. I didn't know how to believe in getting that type of deal done. Not because I didn't know how to believe, I just didn't have the knowledge. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I had known that it was possible to get some of those big deals done that I thought weren't within the realm of possibility, not because of not having faith, just not having knowledge.
Yeah. And how did it make you feel once you did it? Because you have those lots now, right?
No, I'm talking about these are the ones that are across the street.
Oh,
you're talking about buildings. I'm talking about blocks, baby. You see what I'm saying? you understand the difference? You know, yes. I understood and believed buildings. I didn't grasp blocks.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you very much for taking the time with us today. And to our guest, I know you learned a lot today, but rewatch this because he dropped a lot of nuggets in there for entrepreneurs. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate it much. If you come to Houston, you got to come to the Breakfast Club.
I'm coming. I'm looking for you.
If you don't, you haven't been to Houston.
Understood.
And if you can't make it by here, thebreakfastclub.com, you can get the flavor of the Breakfast Club. We'll ship it out to you.
All right. Well, we'll put that link, everybody. The link will be below in comments. Yeah. So if you want to reach out.
I'm sorry. Do we have time? Because I gotta say this. I gotta say this, right? Because I completely missed this because we talked about being in the pandemic and all that kind of good stuff. You know, as an entrepreneur, you have to understand that your role is to, quite frankly, figure it out, right? It's a little different than that, right?
Right.
When this pandemic hit, my mindset, well, one, I had the fortune of having great mentors who had taught me an exercise of when you see a scenario, roll it out both ways, right? Roll it out best case, roll it out worst case. So in December, I actually started thinking about what would happen if this city shut down as a result of this virus. I started thinking about this when I saw it on TV in Wuhan in December. So I started preparing my mind for the possibility of it happening. Not that I'm calling it towards me, right? Mm-hmm. I just need to be mindful of the fact that, hey, this might happen. And lo and behold, 3 months later, it actually happened, right? But as an entrepreneur, you have to recognize the gems in those moments, right? There is, and while we're in the middle of this, and people are woe is me, man, open your eyes and really sift through what's going on because the marketplace is talking to us. You just have to pay attention to what it's saying. This is a realignment in the marketplace, right? It's a shift. And you have to pay attention to what marketplace is going to be calling for, what it's asking for, what opportunities are going to be presented, and move forward with those. The entrepreneur has to be excited about what's on the other side of this, not wallow in the middle of this. Yeah, I got to figure out how to guide this ship through the waters, but I also have to be mindful, man, there's a horizon on the other side of this, right? Once this storm goes down, there's a big old, horizon with sun shining and all of the works. And so you have to know that it's on the other side and you have to, be working towards it. And, being an entrepreneur means that you find out how to maneuver. So we're doing things today that we didn't do 6 months ago, right? Our online ordering process is a result of being in the middle of this pandemic. Our product sales online have skyrocketed as a result of being in the middle of this pandemic. It's not about freezing up and saying, what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna do. It's about it's about freeing yourself to say, what am I going to do? This is what we're going to do. This is how we're gonna make it. You get this, you get that, or you roll on that side, you roll on that side, and this is how we're gonna make it through that. So I didn't want to leave without putting that in there that in pivotal moments, you have to learn how to pivot.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. So our EL community, we're going to have to charge you for that part, okay?
Click the link below and make sure you put your orders in.
All right, hold on. Wow. Let me tell you what, that was just awesome. I can tell you what, I know for you out there in the audience, you had to just soak up and pull a lot of stuff. I know you have a lot of notes because I even have a lot of notes, and I was the one that was doing the interview.
I agree, Cedric. Just so many things resonated with me. We know a lot of people in our audience being a part of the EL community or in that coaching, speaking, training space. But the message is still the same, right? In pivotal moments, you have to learn how to pivot. That was just such a great way to end what was just an awesome, 30 plus minutes of knowledge and expertise.
Yes. And so, let's unpack a couple of things here in the last few minutes that we have. Well, one of the things I love the advice he got from Mr. Caruso, who is French's Chicken is another famous place here in the city of Houston. And I love his advice. He said, hey, stop all that crying. He said, don't you want to eat? Then get busy doing it, folks. Think about you and your business, right? Stop all the crying and whining. Don't you want to eat? Well, then you know what you need to do. Put the plans in place, then take action.
Yes, that was definitely one of my favorite quotes. And the fact that he had the awareness to know early in the phase, right, while the dream was still a dream, that everybody's not coming for the ride. And that exercise, oh my gosh, look, I was like, I'm still in that. So y'all can have it too. But yeah, that was a game changer. But it really resonated, and it's a great way. I think we know it, but doing that exercise makes you know it, right? Like, this is given to me. This is my purpose. This is, from whatever that higher power for me is, right? For us is God. But it was given to us. And so it's okay. And we can have grace and not see people in a negative way when they don't get it the same way. It was fun
awesome watching it. So Angela, let's wrap up in the last few minutes here. There's a lot going on in EL community. Another seat at the table program. If you haven't jumped on board yet, folks, if you're still thinking about it, I'm telling you, you need to just do it. It's sort of like going to Hawaii and getting to the ocean and seeing the pretty water and then saying, I'm not going to get in right now. You just got to get in. I mean, it's an awesome program. So if you haven't, go ahead and do that. Don't even if you know how you're going to use it yet. You need to get it, because you will, if you're in the speaking and coaching lane, you're going to need this program.
No, I agree. I think you and I don't know who, we were literally listening to the masterclass, and we were texting each other like, I enrolled, did you? That's how we're products of the product. And I know both of us have applied with SHRM to be, to get the SHRM credits, because we see the value in this content. And Josh and Roddy and Paul, they've been doing, snippets, right? Giving you pieces so you don't have to digest it all at one time. So make sure you watch the EL network and purchase.
Yes, absolutely. And folks, on Sunday, we have the replay of this show. It happens Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. I'm sure you're going to want to watch this again, do a watch party, come back on Sunday and join us as well. And tonight, right after this is over, it's the candlelight. Angela, tell me the exact name. I don't want to mess that up.
The candle lighting is at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. So just stay tuned in. Just keep your Facebook page tuned in to the Empowered Living Network.
I will tell you this. Same time next Tuesday, same bat channel next Tuesday. Come right back here with us at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, 7:30 Eastern Time, and we will see you next week. Have a great day.
That's right, everybody. And I know you missed Dr. Nicole and Damien. They'll be back with us next week as well.